All right, guys, you know the deal. I'm working on a secret project for the last week and the next coming week and a bit, and I can only show you nothing. So I'm just going to be answering questions that you guys have given me over the last while and spending each vlog on those rather than showing daily activities because secrets are secrets. So today's question comes from Ajish Chandran, who says, when Mrs. Jazza got B's birth certificate and it didn't mention your profession, did you or Mrs. Jazza feel the insecurity of being a YouTuber? Have you ever, on that moment or any other moment in life? That is a really good question. So for those of you who missed that, there was a vlog where the birth certificate of my most recent daughter arrived in the mail, and when we applied for the birth certificate, we both had to put our profession, and I wrote YouTuber. Because on the birth certificate, when it arrives, it's supposed to say their name and blah, 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 and it also says your parents and what their professions are. And my profession was left totally blank. So someone in some sort of administrative thing in the government of births, deaths and marriages got the application, saw YouTuber, and I think thought one of two things. Either that's not a real job, so I won't put it down, or they thought they think they're a YouTuber now, but either they or their child will regret it in years to come if I put YouTuber down for them, because obviously they don't mean it. Who would actually be a professional YouTuber? It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, we found that very funny because we've had experiences like that before and we've just learned to laugh at them, and it just seemed like such a sort of bizarre thing. We knew we were taking a risk putting it down on paper. We were actually being a bit cheeky. We were like, oh, we'll put down YouTuber. Because I'm a YouTuber, right? But there's something in us that knows that the world doesn't really understand it yet. I don't know if it ever will, because there's something about the whole anyone can do it thing that makes it hard to legitimize, you know. Anyways, so in answer to your question, I don't think that made us feel insecure at the time. We just found it a bit funny. But there have been times where being a YouTuber and expressing that has made us or myself feel insecure. The most notable example I have is actually in the birth of my first son. The doctor was talking to my wife after MJ was born, and they were discussing stuff, and she at the time was a teacher and was going on maternity leave, and so they were talking about that, and they were talking about teaching and this and that, and then he turned to me and he said, what do you do? And at that time I had just become like an equal contributor in our relationship financially. I had worked for years and not had a job. I was broke. Everything in my life was broken. I sold all of my precious things, my Warhammer collection, my drum kit, all the things that I loved. I sold because it wasn't the thing I wanted to work out long term. And all of that was starting to pay off. And I was starting to feel a real sense of pride in being a YouTuber, because my God, I had earned it. I worked so friggin' hard to turn YouTube into a manageable and sustainable contributing business. So I said, I'm a YouTuber. And he didn't say a word. He turned back to my wife and kept talking about teaching and other things. It was totally unacknowledged. It was, let's not even address that, right? So that was one of the most memorable, even if this is a real job to me now, I can't say it because people don't understand it. People don't see it as a real job. So that was probably one of the more notable experiences. There have been a couple of others where we've sort of said it and they haven't really been particularly understanding, or there's usually one or two common responses to saying I'm a YouTuber that people have that we've learned to expect. One is disregard or, sort of undervaluing it. And not seeing it as worthwhile or as a real job. That's the most common one for people who don't understand YouTube. There's that, or there's overvaluing it and thinking that you are worth the amount of subscribers you have. I've had people come up to me and say, oh, you're a YouTuber. How many subscribers do you have? Like millions? Like that's their opening question. They don't know who I am, what my channel is, what I do, anything like that. But because I'm a YouTuber, if I have millions of subscribers, I'm worthwhile or I'm worth talking to. That's the implication. So like, it's a really funny thing. You expect one of two extremes, whereas the reality is it's a job. Like, I work really hard. There are some glamorous parts of the job sometimes. More often, it's really like I'm by myself in a room talking to my phone to share it with a few thousand people on the internet who want to know about me. But I'm just by myself in a small rural town in Victoria talking on my phone. Because of that, not a lot of people understand it, and people who do understand it often want to do it or overvalue it, and therefore have a warped perception of value and treat you differently because of that. So I think in wrapping all of this up, what I've learned is that there are contexts in which it's more understood. For example, if I'm talking to peers, people who I know are also YouTubers and understand the business or understand the schedules and how the industry works, where I feel most comfortable talking about being a YouTuber. And at things like VidCons where there are fans and things like that, people who watch a lot of these videos, a lot of them more like varied, not so like, you know, there are people who watch one or two of videos on my main channel that have millions of views and have a perception of me. But then there are people like yourself who will watch a Q&A video or a few Q&A videos on my little channel, as well as a lot of other videos on my main channel and my vlog channel, who understand it a lot more. And if they meet me in person, can sometimes be a little like, you know, have that fan moment and stuff. But then when that passes, it's like we're friends and we sort of get each other, you know, and that happens a lot. So that's one thing I've learned. But then the other thing I've learned is that's the exception, not the rule. And the rule is people don't often understand it. So I actually have, as a result, learned to not introduce myself as a YouTuber unless there are specific circumstances. It's not out of shame by any means, but it's just to avoid awkwardness or misunderstanding. And usually we say something like, my wife and I would just say we work in digital marketing because that's like new and techy enough for them to understand the sort of thing we do, but it's foreign and bizarre or a little like complex or weird enough and boring enough that they don't really want to ask more questions. And if they do ask questions, we can say things like, you know, we place advertisements on video content online or something, which is technically true. So anyways, that's where we're at. That's actually our answer most of the time, both for avoiding awkwardness and also in a sense for avoiding privacy issues. If people want to, if they learn you're a YouTuber, they want to sort of dig in deeper or find out more about you, which is a little weird and unnerving, especially if in the context in which they ask you, you're with your family or you're at, you know, something totally unrelated to your work. Anyways, there's a bit of an insight on behind the scenes of thinking of yourself as a YouTuber. Thanks for watching, guys. I look forward to revealing Operation Vertigo, but unfortunately there's still a week and a bit, maybe a bit more, I don't know. It's hard to, things are progressing pretty well, but I can't really reveal much until it's time to reveal it. And when I do, it's gonna be good. I'll see you guys later.